The disorder is often attached to a spiritual problem, especially in Africa, while the Western world, say, is one of the few psychiatric disorders that is widely known to the general public. Either of the two, what do we do to avoid being a victim of such predators is why we are here. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Olujoke Mosako. The topic is Pedophile Alert. Mrs. Ijeoma Igwesi, founder, Family Matters Nigeria, is here to help us out. Stay with us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mrs. Ijeoma Igwesi. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks so much, Olajoke. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you. Now, what is pedophile? What kind of condition is it, and when does it occur in a man or a woman?
Pedophile is a mental disorder. So some people say the paraphilic disorder, wherein a preference, sexual urge towards men below the age 13 years and below. An adult male or female has special sexual preferences for children from aging to pedophile. Such person is a pedophile. Well, as per when it occurs in a man or a woman, it's not really exact, but the condition is that for one to be a pedophile, the person must have reached the age of 16. That's the one condition. So presumably it's assumed that it starts at the age of 16. For someone to be considered a pedophile, the person must have reached the age of 16, and the person he or she sexually abused must be 5 years younger than himself or herself. So on that note, you can say that pedophilia starts at the age of 16. But in reality, the tendency must have been there before that yet, that official acceptable age.
So what are the signs that we should look out for, or the symptoms of this condition?
The signs are just straight put for, as the definition said, one, the person has special sexual urges towards the younger children. The person doesn't have any special sexual interest in adults or people of the same age. But not very important thing here, pedophiles are different from child sexual abusers. Child sexual abusers, they abuse children, and they also have sexual attraction towards adults. But a pedophile is such that the only sexual attraction, sexual urge they have is towards children from 13 years and below. So the sign one is that they like to stay with children a lot. They like to play with children. They pretend to love children. They like to stay in isolated places with children. Some of them get to the point of buying gifts for children, and not for every child. They usually have their target victims. So all their good deeds, their friendliness, their generosity, and what have you are tailored towards their targeted victim. If they are not well looked into, you may think that the person is just a child lover.
So are there causes? What are the causes actually? I'm sure there's something that would trigger this kind of feelings for an underage.
A number of factors. Number one, neurologically, some people say that it has to do with some mental neurological malformation. Some parts of the neurohormones were not properly formed or were underdeveloped, in the sense that their sexual urges, the part that's supposed to be developed to the fullest to have attraction for fellow adults, are undeveloped. So that attraction is now a kind of retarded neurological development in terms of sexual hormonal development. That is one. Then some others were victims of child sexual abuse. Some pedophiles were abused sexually as children. So they grew up now having that mental state of, have been attracted to children sexually. But for females especially, some of them are victims of abuse, either emotional or sexual or just any kind of abuse when they were younger. So they grew up with this sense of low self-esteem. Poor self-esteem means that they have sexual urges like every other human being, but their personality and their low self-esteem would not allow them to express themselves towards their fellow adults. So they fall back to having sexual urges towards their children. Some also have what we call castration tendencies, castration anxiety. They are afraid they may not be able to perform. It is a tendency that is somehow mentally imbibed. They will not perform sexually with adults. So to land on a safer side, they make their choice children. They choose children to express themselves sexually. These are some of the causes.
Wow, that's really a terrible one. So basically, it's not as if people are born with this disorder. It's just something that went wrong at some point, right?
At some point, when we talked about hormonal malformation in the neuro section, that is the aspect that would have controlled their sexual desires, their sexual urges. If anybody has that kind of malformation, that it's a natural something, it's a birth disorder, so to say, but it's significantly very low. The number of people that fall into that category are quite low. For most others, it is either exposure, early exposure to sex in childhood or abuse, low self-esteem, and things like that. Those are the ones you can say that it's a condition that they came, that they came into or that came upon them when they were already growing.
Okay, let's quickly sensitize people on how to identify pedophiles.
Well, I've said this first to identify a pedophile now. Let's be very frank here. The word pedophile actually is a Greek word that comes from two words, pedo and philia. Pedo refers to child and philia refers to law. So it is a kind of law for children. So let's please clear something before we mention the signs. Let's not think that anybody and everybody that has love for children is a pedophile. Some people are genuinely children lovers. But then the pedophiles also love children. As I said before, they like to stay with children. They are the ones that groom children. They can be online groomers. They can be offline groomers. They are the ones that like to talk with your children in your absence. And even when you are there, they'll talk with the child in low tones. They are the ones that like to teach children. They want to always come with impression. I have something new to show you. Come, I'll show you this on my phone. I'll show you this, that place. I'll take you to this place. I'll buy you this and buy that. They pretend that they love children. And in the midst of their colleagues and others, like among the youth now, talking about their sexual escapades, such people, they don't talk because they know that all their sexual escapades have to do with minors, with little children. So the basic way to know them, if you're a parent, is to watch out that person that comes to your house or stays with you, who always like to stay with your child alone. That person that always wants to buy gifts for a particular child because they don't molest every child. That person that wants to know your child's love language more than you do. Watch out for that person that likes to carry your child on the laps, pretending, just pretending to love the child more than you, the parent, loves him or her. These are the signs. When your trust as a parent, a pedophile can't go away, that the child is safe, please don't oblige them. These are some of the signs, the things you'll notice, and you'll suspect that this fellow may be a pedophile. Another one is the person had recorded cases. There are people who have had cases. Before somebody will really be called a pedophile, it must have been a recurrent issue. A one-time attack on a child does not qualify somebody to be a pedophile. It must have reoccurred. There must have been different cases on different children or on a particular child, but it must have reoccurred severally before you say that this person is a pedophile.
Let's quickly go on this break, and when we come back, we continue from there. So stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk, and the topic for today is pedophile alert. How do we know the predators next door? Is why we are here. So our guest has been Mrs. Ijeoma Igwesi. She is the founder of Family Matters Nigeria. So let's continue on this ride. Thank you so much, Ma. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Yeah, what should parents or guardians do to avoid or pay attention in order to avoid becoming a victim of the pedophile next door, or a father who is a pedophile, or a brother or somebody that, because it's obvious that these people are people known to us, close friends, neighbors, and all.
Yes, I like this point you brought out now. Pedophiles are usually people known to the child. They are usually close relatives, neighbors, family friends, parents, colleagues at work, teachers in the school, home lesson teachers. They are people known to the child. So what parents have to do, number one, is from early in life, give your child the ability to love themselves, good self-esteem. Inculcate good self-esteem on your child. Children who have good self-esteem are rarely victims of pedophiles because they know their worth, they know whom they are, and they can defend themselves. They are not usually taken for granted. But a child with a broken or shattered self-esteem is always looking for affirmation, is always looking for somebody to make them feel loved. So building good self-esteem is one. Another thing is you must know and speak your child's love language. Many times the trap or the prey that pedophiles use to get the victims is their love language. If you don't know the love language of your child, no matter what you do as a parent, that child never feels loved. And as long as a child does not feel loved, you can never make that child happy. So if a pedophile comes in and then notices the child's love language before you, he speaks it, she speaks it, and the child follows them. That's the second thing, is to know the love language of your child. Then speak it and truly show the child love. A lot of children fall victim to pedophiles because they lack love at the home front. Nobody really cares about them. A lot of children are isolated, they are lonely. Loneliness, isolation, they are struggling with things that matter to them, but nobody seems to give them attention. These children can easily fall prey to pedophiles. Then early sex education. Many parents, especially for those of us in the African continent, find it difficult to talk to their children about sex. So they don't even know. By now, a child of age 6 should know about pedophiles. Who is a pedophile? Such child should know what to do when a pedophile approaches him or her, but we don't do the same. Early sex education. Teach them details. Demystify sex to them. Don't make it look something that, no, we don't mention sex there. The more you keep them ignorant of it, the more they fall victims. So early child sex education, detailed one, not just, that kind they were given those days. Give them correct sex education. Then stranger consciousness, neighbor consciousness, security consciousness. Let your child know how to relate with a stranger, how to relate with a neighbor. Let them know that they shouldn't just trust anybody like that their parents are their best confidants. Another thing you should tell your child is anybody that tells you something and does something to you and say, don't tell your parents, don't tell mom, don't tell dad. Let your children know they should run from such person. That person is an enemy and not a friend. So these are some of the things we can do. Teach them good behavior, good comportment. Don't accept gifts from anybody. Don't enter people's room anyhow. Don't send them anyhow on your own. Don't let them be alone. Don't trust anybody with the security and safety of your child. No person can secure your child like you. Only you can do that. Then remember that until every other child outside is safe, your own children are not safe. As you're working on your children, you should also work on other parents, sensitize other parents, talk to them the way they groom their own children so that their children do not become negative influence to your own children out there.
Now, let's quickly go to this one. Are all pedophiles the same? Are they all the same? I know that there are opportunistic pedophiles. Take, for example, the recent development about a popular Nigerian Nollywood, or would I say Yoruba actor. He was arrested concerning sleeping with an underage 7 years ago, and then coming back again to do the same. And other people are saying he actually attributed it to a spiritual problem. And some other people too attested to it. They were like, oh yes, it's a spiritual problem. That was why I said in Africa, they call it spiritual problem. But in the Western world, it's a psychiatric disorder. And while you were talking also, you said when it is done twice or more, then the person is a pedophile. But it's different from the person who just feel, oh, I just want to have sex with this child or something. Now, there's another man in Ogun State, Nigeria, who also molested a 10-year-old. And while they caught him, the police got to know that he has also been sleeping with his underage children. So let's quickly let's break it down right now. Is this spiritual at it?
Well, in Africa, we are very spiritual folks over here. We spiritualize a lot of things, but in all honesty, call it what it is. A pedophile is a pedophile. He is an abuser. He is a molester and should be treated as such. I don't believe that it was a spiritual case. Some people believe they can be manipulated. Probably he was manipulated. But if it was a manipulation that happened once, he may be forgiven. But if the person was manipulated once, and a second time, and a third time, and years later, you still met the same victim, and you still got manipulated, a young child, and you as an adult, I don't believe that manipulation story any longer. To me, it has become something more than that. Pedophiles are not the same. Just like we have rapists, there are some serial rapists who rape just anybody, and it's like their lifestyle. Some pedophiles focus on a particular person. They just pick a particular child. There are cases where a pedophile had, dealt with a particular child for more than 5 years. Like the case of Ochanya Obanje that came 3-4 years ago in Nigeria as well. That one was a pedophile in the house, was using her until the son joined him. Eventually, the girl got VHF and died. That's a serial pedophile. But like the other case of the man in Ogun State, he molested the child, and then it was discovered that when using his own children, that is an incest pedophile. He's combining his own with incest. Incest is sexual relationship between members of the family. So he's doing that. He's an incest abuser. He's a pedophile at the same time. Then there are other categories of pedophiles who their own is that any child that comes, their own is anything, just a child, just a minor. They are not specific. They will know there are pedophiles who are male and they molest male children, just like we have homosexuals. And there are females who molest girls. These are lesbians as well. So there are different types, which brings us that even the sexual orientation of a person also plays out in pedophilia. Some people are heterosexuals, some people are homosexuals and lesbians, even though they are pedophiles. The only difference is that their attraction is focused on children. That's the difference. So there are different kinds of pedophiles. The man, the popular actor talked about, well, I don't excuse him for any spiritual problem. That's just what I would say about that.
Very true, because it was really a case of if you did it before, why come years after again to still see the child in few minutes and you already want to sleep with her? Well, this also happened. I got to read about a guy in one of the northern states who is also a serial pedophile. He was actually molesting underage boys. And now a whole lot of people are now in his group. Like he has been successful enough to actually win other people over that they do the same thing. So there is a whole lot to be done. Now, what are the stakeholders in this? How do we come to overcome this issue, this menace?
We another thing that really gives us problem in our culture here in Africa is some of our religious beliefs and practices. Some of our religious beliefs and practices, wherein we believe that a man of 16 years could get married to a child of 12 years. It's as if the man now has legal rights over the child to have sex with her. But it shouldn't be. A 12-year-old child is a minor and should be treated as such. To curb those meanings, we need a lot of awareness. We need to start from the government. If there should be strict measures placed by the government, if there should be more NGOs, more voices speaking out against those things, if there should be grassroots awareness getting down to the villages, entering into the fabrics of our religious practices, opening the eyes of people to the dangers these children are exposed to. We need to start from our grassroots. Everybody should say, I am a stakeholder in the well-being of those children, from our communities to our religious level, to the government, to the NGOs. There should be massive awareness. There should be massive agitation. There should be this outcry, unhindered, unrestrained. While we are trying to talk to our children, it should be made a global outcry, especially in the African continent. And from the family level, another problem we have is that many pedophiles are hidden. They say, it's a family member. We don't have to broadcast it. How will the child feel? We want to protect the image of the child. We have to tell people that the image of the child is destroyed, and if not well taken care of, permanently so, if you hide a pedophile.
You made mention of measures to be put in place, like things to be done to such predator. Now, what is the place of the judicial system, especially in Nigeria or Africa at large? Because we know that the Western world, even if it happens 20, 40 years ago, and it comes up again, the person is going to face the full wrath of the law. Unlike Nigeria, where we heard that the case, the man, they said it's been a long time, they cannot prove, there is no proof of such, and probably there is no case. But we know that a sin is a sin, and even the Bible says so. The wages of sin is death. Whoever does any wrong should actually be punished, no matter how long it may be.
Well, we are growing. Let me just put it there. Let me just put it like that. We are still growing. Our judicial system, we've not really gotten to that point. We can really trust a serene and sane judicial system that handles issues the way they are, that cause things the names they bear. But I'm also happy to announce that in recent times, there have been a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals, lots of NGOs who are now taking it upon themselves to make sure that victims of pedophilia get justice. We are really coming up in that. In the last 3 years or thereabout, there have been a lot of improvement in that aspect. But that does not still remove the fact that in some our judicial system is, I don't know what I would say, they are biased, or is it what the voice speaks, and then the poor is silenced. If it should be what it is, and I am believing that in a few years to come, if we continue the way we're going, we'll come to a point that a pedophile, no matter his rank, no matter his position, will be stripped and then be given the adequate justice. And there should be provision legally stated. Make it global, or make it a national statement, make it national statement that this should be the verdict, the punishment for a pedophile, and it should be implemented to the letter. I will not recommend anything. The judicial system, they should know better. Whether if it is a capital punishment, they should know. I don't think it's too much anyway. Some people say the man should be castrated. I don't know. Some people say they should be amputated. I don't know. Our judicial system should decide. Thus is the punishment that should be meted to a pedophile, and it should be made flat. Everybody gets the same verdict. There shouldn't be any sacred cows anywhere.
Wow, thank you so much. Do you have any final word?
My final word is that pedophiles are real. Some parents, as we are talking, still do not believe it, but we have got all it takes to overcome them. If you and I, my neighbor, my friend, everybody around, put our hand on the deck, say we want to stamp out this evil from among us, we can do it. If we're able to educate our children, if we're able to make those in the government, like some NGOs in Nigeria, taking it upon themselves now and stipulate strict measures against pedophiles, things that should be done, and we implement it, I'm sure very soon we shall win the war against pedophiles. Thank God for people like you who are doing this. If we should get more people, we're going to have more voices speaking. And with time, we shall sing a new song.
Sure. With time, we shall sing a new song. Thank you so much for being part of the show. It's nice having you join us on this edition of Let's Talk. And thank you, Mrs. Igwesi, for your time also. I would also leave you with this. Know your child's language. According to Mrs. Igwesi, you should know your child's love language. And also pay attention to your children. Listen to them. Know the signs when they are acting awkward towards a particular person sometimes, because when they do that, you should not just shun them off, but pay attention to it and help them walk through it. On this note, I say thank you once again for being part of the show. Until next time, I remain Olujoke Musaku. Bye for now.